I mean, there is the whole aspect of AI user Indian IT services stocks are getting hammered. What is defensible? Do you think financial services fintech is defensible in the era of AI?
It's a billion-dollar question. Right. So, and all of us are wrestling with this today. I think financial services is a bit different because it's a lot more nuanced, right? And by that, what I mean is financial services, firstly, is regulated, right? So you are a licensed company, which is not getting disrupted right there. You need to eventually hold a license, right? You are answerable to a regulator. So you need to have auditable processes which are there and evidence-based processes which have to be there in place. There is more specific workflows which you need to follow, which are more attuned to the sector and the country that you are operating in, right? And then there are customers at the end of the day who you are more responsible towards. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not that financial services as a sector is getting disrupted overnight, where banks will stop existing and NBFCs will stop existing and all the workflows will disappear. But are there opportunities to automate workflows within each of these? Absolutely. And will those get AI enabled? Absolutely. So there will be a transformation which will happen in the way these organizations exist and operate. But are they disappearing tomorrow? Unlikely.
When you look at the overall semi-con sort of stack, right, or AI stack, it starts with your semi-connected. And there are two types of it, which is your software, which is fabless set of things, wherein it's largely about designing, and then there is harder side of it, which is your fabs, for example, TSMC, etc. Then on top of that, you have infra, which is again sort of when it comes to the software element of it, which is your infra solutions, which allows you to deploy sort of elements, etc. And then on the other end, you have hardware side of it, which is data centers and all, which Rahil talked about. And of course, LLM, infra solutions, and then application layer, which comes on top of it. I think how to look about it is that a few of these plays require a lot of heavy upfront capex or investments. Now, the real question is, I mean, for a new venture to kind of really set it up or to kind of really do that, is there enough venture capital pool available, which is so large and risk averse to kind of really bet on that today? I think my answer to that is very modestly no. And as a result of that, I mean, we have very limited activity which has happened on the LLM side, etc. Similarly, on the FAMS side, FAMS also is largely being driven by the conglomerates or legacy player. But when it comes to the design element of it, when you think about fabless, a lot of new age companies are coming in which are doing great work. I think Netra Singh recently taped out their first AI SoC chips. When it comes to LLM, I think Servam, smallest .ai, etc. Multiple good companies are trying to do good work. And I will come back to Servam and smallest AI. And then I mean, when you go above, when it comes to application layer, again, I mean, a lot of activity on the application side again, which is coming in. Infra is much of a global problem or a problem statement, so not much of activity there. So again, coming back to only these two pieces, which is your LLM stack as well as application layer. In addition to what Harsh already mentioned, I think what separates India versus other geographies is the price point that we operate at and the nuances of the country. For example, we talked about fraud. The kind of frauds which happens in India, I mean, for example, etc., is very different from what happens in the US, etc. And those workflows for most of the global companies are built around US requirements / EU requirements versus what is the problem statement in India is very, very different. Right? I mean, so you solve for those very specific workflows. That is first. Second is the price point. India, given that it's such a cheap labor country, and I mean AI, at the end of the day, you compare it with if I were to put a human here, will it do a work at a cheaper rate, equal quality versus AI? I think why Servam or other players might have a right to win is just about the pricing piece, right? I mean, because are you able to achieve that particular price point? A lot of fintech infra companies which came to India have moved out because they were not able to meet the price point that Indian banks were willing to pay. So I think India's competency or ability of players to win comes through solving for very domestic first workflows, which is not the focus for the larger players because India inherently is a smaller fintech infra market versus US. And second is solving for the price point and achieving that while building a very strong unit economics business. So if you are able to solve for those pieces, of course there are opportunities, across service section, compliance part, infra side, so on and so forth.
It's a question of defensibility, right? So at least, and this is an evolving thesis, I don't think I have an answer to this question, right? We think of two places where there's defensibility. One is GTM and data. I continue to strongly believe that GTM is a very defensible, especially in regulated businesses like financial services. Like we've all invested in enterprise sales businesses, and we've seen how trust-based form enterprise cycles. That's not going away anytime soon. I think the question on data, I've gone in with this belief that data is a defensible moat because what you use to train. To me, that now is a question because we're now seeing Claude able to develop things with their newer models, and compete with Harvey. Harvey was very specifically for legal, but now we're seeing Claude general models also be good enough at that same level. So again, that's a question mark in my mind. Can you build that defensibility with data alone? I'm not sure, but I think on GTM for sure you can build some defensibility, which even somebody like a generalist LLM will not be able to get in. They have to partner with someone to get in and that's the value you can have. What's the margin you make on that is a different conversation, but there is defensibility.